Broadcast Future. Ideen, Märkte, Motivation.
I believe the commercial radio industry is at the moment of truth. This is when we decide whether we are going to progress and grow and survive, or whether we are going to sit here and watch the world pass us by and watch our industry disappear. I actually have heard some people at radio conferences get up and say, there's no problem, it's all in our head, that radio is stronger than ever. And I don't see the truth in that. There are so many more choices that listeners, and don't think of them as listeners, think of them as people, as consumers, as human beings, as the person who lives next door, the person eating next to you in the restaurant. So many choices that people have now in their lives that they did not have during most of radio's life. For most of radio's life, until very recently, if you wanted to hear hit songs, there was only radio. Well, that's not the case anymore. The magic of radio always has lied in the fact that we do things on a daily basis that our listeners cannot do for themselves. Now, they used to be playing great music, but now they can play great music. It might be the way we cover news or sports, interviewing celebrities, being relevant to the listeners' lives. But the more they can do it themselves, if we continue to do it, the less magical radio becomes. So for radio to survive and thrive, we need to continue to be relevant, and let me make that stronger. We need to become more relevant. Because the fact is, and I know I will offend a lot of radio people by saying this, the fact is, to a growing number of people in the world, radio is irrelevant to their lives. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go talk to someone under the age of 25 and ask them where radio ranks in their lives. I'm not saying that it's because radio cannot be important, but in many cases, in many places around the world, radio has lost much, if not all, of its relevance to its former audience. And until we regain that relevance, we will not regain that audience. During my lifetime, the radio industry has done very little innovation. What innovation there has been in formats, in tweaking formats. And really, the last big innovation in radio probably was when Bill Drake came along with the Boss Radio Top 40 format. And since then, it's been tweaking and refining and trying to find ways to manipulate ratings reports. But as far as true innovation, and it pains me to say this as someone who has spent his life in radio people tend to wait for someone else to invent something, for someone else to solve their problem, for someone else to come up with a solution. So right now, one of the buzzwords is new media, Web 2.0. And radio stations around the world are trying to decide, well, which new media solution should we buy? Which company out there that is offering to do it all for us should we work with? And especially if they're offering to do it without charging us anything, that's great. But very, very few radio companies are actually innovating themselves. Other industries have an R&D department, research and development. Radio stations do not. Radio stations are reactive. Something happens in the marketplace and they scurry about trying to figure out how to deal with it. Now, if it's something good that happens, great. That's a bonus for them. If it's something bad, and there are some bad things happening to radio right now in the marketplace, they scurry around trying to find a way to react to it, to find someone to save them. And I don't know why, since we have some of the most creative, brightest minds in the world working in radio. I mean, radio people at their core are creative. I mean, real radio people. They're creative people. Why are we not innovating? Instead of looking for someone else to come up with something, it's like, okay, look, this, according to a lot of people, has changed the world. The iPhone. This is not simply a smartphone. Among other things, this is a computer. And this computer is far more powerful than the computer I used when I launched my entire business years ago. But the iPhone, and there will be others that imitate it in the future, has changed the world. Is your radio station right now thinking, actually planning on how to use this, on how to communicate with the millions of people, the millions and millions of people who have an iPhone? And if you're in a market right now where there is very little iPhone penetration, watch this video 2 years from now. And then you can see how wrong I was or how right I am. Here are the requirements for being accepted by Apple as an iPhone application developer. Ready? $99. Pay the $99, you can become an iPhone application developer. Rather than looking for something out there in the world, why don't you hire someone to write an application specifically for the iPhone that will somehow help your radio station? Now, I'm not technologically oriented. You would have a much better idea than the idea I will throw at you now. This is the most obvious, simple thing to do. A good developer can do it in 8 hours. If nothing else, if you're a music station, why don't you hire someone on a freelance basis, a part-time basis, to develop an iPhone application that iPhone owners can download for free from iTunes that will show them what song is playing on your station right now? It doesn't even need to stream it, just to show them what song is playing. They can take it further. Maybe it will alert them. Maybe they can indicate their 7 favorite songs. And whenever one of their 7 favorite songs is playing on your radio station, they get an alert on their iPhone. Now, maybe those ideas don't excite you. Maybe they're totally wrong for you. But my point is, if you can imagine it, somebody can write it. And that's, to me, is the key to the internet, to new media, to Web 2.0. The key is to understand that neither you nor I has a big enough imagination to imagine something that cannot be done on the internet. So the challenge is not how can we do this. The challenge is what should we be doing right now to use new technologies, to embrace our audience, to remain current and relevant to their lives, to make it so they cannot do without us. Someone at a radio convention was asked about ways to drive traffic to the radio station websites. And I'm told that this person said, why would we want to drive people to the internet? Why would we want to use our radio station to drive people to the internet? That's competing with us. Well, the answer to that question is they are going to the internet. The question is not, are they going? The question is, they are going. Do you want to be driving them there? Do you want to be leading them there? Do you want to be their valued guide? Or do you want to just be waving goodbye as they never come back? It's up to you.
Broadcast Future. Ideen, Märkte, Motivation.